Jersey City rappers Joe Budden and Ransom might be cool now, but there was a time period where they had a falling out, and there was quite some tension there. We're gonna go through what started their feud, but first we're gonna go back to how they got their start to better present the situation. Randy Nichols, aka Ransom, started his rap career in Jersey City, and sometime around 2002 he was a part of the group The A-Team, along with fellow rapper Hitchcock. The two were put together by Joe Budden, who was recently signed to Def Jam at this point, after he got his own start in his rap career by working with DJ Clue, a co-founder of Desert Storm Records, known for signing artists like Fabulous and Stack Bundles. The A-Team reportedly was supposed to sign to Def Jam at one point as well, but the deal fell through, which led to them releasing a series of mixtapes, getting their buzz up in New Jersey. If you remember my video breaking down the Joe Budden and G-Unit beef, or the Joe Budden and Saigon beef, then you probably remember me mentioning them at some point, as in Saigon's diss tracks, he made mention of Joe's beef with Ransom, and in Joe's beef with G-Unit, he dissed them on a freestyle that he had with the A-Team. After Joe dropped his hit single, Pump It Up, on Def Jam and started getting an even bigger buzz, he apparently switched up on the A-Team, however, and you could say this is where some sign of tension was felt, maybe. The A-Team broke up sometime around 2006 and went their separate ways, which Ransom mentioned in a track in which he was expressing his feelings on the situation, like how Hitchcock essentially gave up on rap and got a regular job. Around this time, Joe released the mixtape Mood Music 3. On that mixtape is the track Family Reunion, featuring Fabulous, Ransom, and Hitchcock. If you look online, you can see for yourself that they aren't named as the A-Team, seemingly confirmed that they are no longer together. This is where the beef would start between Ransom and Joe, as apparently, Joe put a verse from Ransom and Hitchcock on the song without each other's permission. Basically some false marketing, considering the track is called Family Reunion, implying that they're back together again. Then Ransom put out the track Kid Brother, aimed at Joe Budden. On the track, Ransom uses the beat from the Ye track Big Brother from his Graduation album released in September 2007. On Ye's track, he's talking about his relationship with Jay-Z, who is the big brother in that instance. On Ransom's track, he refers to Joe Budden as his kid brother instead of big brother as Ye did with Jay, and like Ye did, talks about his relationship with Joe Budden and the situation with the A-Team. He talks about how Joe basically abandoned him, and Hitch, with the lines, "Got a tiny buzz, so now the street's starting to say things, so Joe says fuck it, let's start up this A-Team. Wow, that should be start of some great things till Pump It Up came out and he started to make cream. Damn, I'm thinking he's starting up fake dreams, so I'ma cut the grass cause I know what a snake needs. 3 solo artists, now 2 solo artists. He left us together, let's see who goes hardest." As I said earlier, they were supposed to be doing it together apparently, but according to Ransom at least, Joe left him hanging, hence a level of tension. This is a pretty common feeling when one person out of a group achieves a certain level of success and the others feel left out. Ransom then claims that he saved Joe's life with the lines, "Come on Joe, you don't want to beef with your boy, cause I remember when you used to sleep on my floor and your own crew tried to come creep through the door. Who the one who talked them out of putting heat to your jaw? Man, I should've listened to them, they was keeping it raw. They told me you was just a snake and deceiving us all. And I might not even the score, but I bet you I'll be leaving with more." Joe then put out the track Heart of the City, in which he uses the beat from the Jay-Z track of the same name from his Blueprint album. On the intro, Joe states that there isn't beef and it's just family stuff, as well as refutes Ransom's lines about saving his life. He claims that Ransom is basically just looking for attention by dissing Joe with the lines, "Listen, I mean this is how you know a nigga looking for glory. Got my phone number, any problems could've called me. Heard the big brother shit, honestly it bored me." He then goes on to tell his side of the story about how the whole A-Team situation started with lines like, "I met you and Hitch, had a couple of dope punchlines. Y'all was from the hood, ain't want them to be unsigned. Said I'd intervene long as niggas stayed faithful. And the envy's clues big mics when it play you. They said y'all was garbage, I said y'all was hotness. Did a whole tape with y'all and Nelly Nell dropped it." He continues on telling the story and then makes a reference to Ransom's problems with Hitch and essentially tells Ransom to think bigger than their beef, rather than getting angry at him for putting Hitchcock and him on Family Reunion with the lines, "I only put y'all together to make history. Feelings to the side, we're doing a track together. We still alive, dog. Let's do it for Stack together. You see, I could care less about your beef with Hitch. I care about our well-being, features, hits. So I tell you like I told your manager, kid, just being real, hoping you can handle the shit. He continues on to give Ransom advice like to stop rapping about selling drugs and shooting, and basically change his subject matter if he wants to be more successful. He then ends the track with the lines, "Look, instead of wasting energy on some next shit, lock in the studio, nigga, and make a record, do something constructive, start your career, I'll meet you at the top and we could argue there." Once again, trying to give him what could be seen as constructive criticism in a way. In an interview after these diss tracks were released, he stated that this track isn't a diss to Ransom and it's more him trying to give Ransom advice about what to do, and that statement seems to hold some truth to it based on the lyrics throughout the track.
I don't care if it's been a while since, nationally you've heard me. I get busy.
Right.
So if you're gonna come at me, you gotta make it worth your while. It's like if you're gonna kill somebody, you gotta make sure they're dead.
Pretty much.
You can't leave him alive. So he sent some shots at me, and I still didn't, send shots at him. I more so put a message in a song saying, listen, this is what you can do to further your career. Learn from my mistakes and do some positive things and get money and get you and your family and your daughter out the hood.
Right.
And that's it. And he sent another shot at me.
Right.
After this track, Ransom responded with the track Die Tonight, which uses the beat from the 50 Cent song I'm Supposed to Die Tonight from the Massacre album released in 2005. On the intro of the track, Ransom mentions that Joe hasn't been to Jersey in years and reiterates his claim of Joe sleeping on the floor of his studio and states that Joe used to record in it. Throughout the track, Ransom takes shots at Joe for being soft and not selling dope like himself. He also makes a reference to Joe's beef with Game and claims that Game threatened Joe and Joe basically backed up from it out of fear. He disses Joe for not putting on for New Jersey with the lines, "You were supposed to put Jersey on like Beans put Philly on, but now that your deal is gone, I see what you really on." Beans, of course, is Beanie Siegel, one of the most well-known rappers from Philadelphia and known for his group State Property. This is also probably a reference to the fact that Beanie's group was signed to Rockefeller and Def Jam, just like how Joe was signed to the latter around that time, but A-Team never got signed. He ends the verse with the lines, "I'm the strongest nigga reppin' the East besides 50, and I don't know what this nigga's trying to do. Yeah, I know about John and who he's trying to screw, cause I know what with you know who. I'm cool, nigga, let's keep that between me and you." 50 Cent was considered a pretty tough rapper, and he also was beefing with Joe Budden as well, so dropping his name makes sense there. The John in these lines is a reference to Fabulous, whose first name is John, and it's also a reference to Jay-Z's line from Takeover, where he implied doing something with the mother of Nas's child, which he expanded on in the diss track Super Ugly. Here, Ransom is saying that Fabulous had sex with Joe's girlfriend, Tahiri. Ransom also implied this a little later on in the beef, which I will be getting to shortly. Afterwards, Ransom just goes off for the rest of the track talking about Joe sleeping on the floor of his studio again, and how Joe doesn't come around Jersey City and so on. Also on Mood Music 3, Joe has the song Dear Diary, on which he seems to take some shots at Ransom as well. In the beginning of the track, he says 10307, which is most likely a reference to the day he was recording it, and also fits right in with the title of the song, as in a diary, you're more than likely going to start with the date. He appears to be talking about Ransom, starting from the lines, "You was riding shotgun, I was wheeling the whip. Shit, I even let you rock out, being Bill Belichick, taping from the sideline, stealing my shit. But dog, you was like a mini-me, mocked me, envied me. Turns out you was blowing hot air, Kenny G. But you was cool, accepted you instantly. Not a groupie, but you had a few tendencies. And though we share a few memories, couple wrong turns will turn a friend to an enemy." Considering that he mentions being pretty close to this person, that pretty much excludes the other rappers Joe had beef with up until this point, like Jay-Z or 50 Cent. Later on, he expands with lines making it more likely that it is Ransom, like, "If niggas ain't as hungry as you, then why feed them? Niggas ain't trying to be led, then why lead them? Having big problems with your dogs, why breed them? I'll keep my part up, keep my guard up, was like Thundercats but changed faster than Chitara. This a small part of a larger issue. Sometimes acceptance is so hard to get to, but we all equal. No one lower or above me. I love my team just as much as they love me, if not more. If I turn the knob, we all going through the door. I ain't coming back for y'all. The whole crew feel the same as me. How could you ignore something so plain to see?" Basically talking about how Ransom and Hitchcock were a part of the team and so on. Towards the end of the song, he switches subjects to talking about the issues with the mother of his son, like going to court. In response to the previous Ransom track, Joe released the track Ransom Note, in which he uses the beat to the classic track Takeover, also from Jay-Z's Blueprint album. In my opinion, this is a pretty good idea for Joe to use his beat, considering how Ransom used a line from Takeover when he dissed Joe. The track is over 9 minutes long, and the first 3 minutes or so is Joe Budden talking about how the diss tracks have played out so far, with Ransom putting out the first track, then Joe responding, then Ransom coming back, and now Joe responding again. Unlike the previous track where Joe claims he was really giving Ransom advice on how to better his career, it's pretty clear on this one that Joe is going for the jugular. The title of the track can be seen as both a reference to the title of Ransom's mixtapes, Ransom Note, as well as holding something for ransom like kidnappers do. Joe got to business for real on Ransom here. There's plenty to break down. He talks about how he's not originally from Jersey City as he was born in New York, and takes a shot at him for starting a frivolous beef with the lines, "Some JC heads might want to lash and do me, but shit was out of order when I came across the border as a foreigner and hit the home run like Matsui. This is pointless beef for the retarded kids. The nigga can't even tell you why he started this shit. I mean, he can't make a record. The tape's coming out that nobody care about. You can see that he desperate." Once again, claiming Ransom is trying to get attention by dissing Joe. He then goes on to take a shot at Ransom's street credibility and how he's still just a local rapper after years, with the lines, "Wanna be hard so bad, no identity left, so he'd run around committing identity theft. See, the kid is confused, the nigga used to work at Home Depot, maybe that's why he's spitting about tools. You ain't hustling on the steps, before you rap you was in culinary arts, hustling to be a chef. Come on, stop lying, Rand. You never been good with weight, you good with frying pans. You're not grimy, you dirty. How long you think you gon' rep Jersey? You not 25, you 30. He then goes on to respond to some of Ransom's lines again and disses him for repping the hood with the lines, "I took him to the studio so he could lay his first shit. So you right, these young niggas don't know me, but do your homework, go ask a few OGs. Me and you see the hood different, you glorify it, I'm horrified of it. Don't be stupid all your life, Rand. Be clear, I fuck with cats from the hood that wanna leave there." Basically, Ransom telling Joe he isn't in JC anymore isn't a diss, as wanting to leave the hood is what you should be aspiring to do, not stay there. He also refutes Ransom's lines about Joe being scared of game by claiming that Ransom is actually the one that was scared to get involved on Joe's behalf and left Joe alone to deal with it. He ends the song still rapping while it fades out, implying that he has more bars to go at Ransom, which ties back into the intro where he called out Ransom for just talking for a while at the end of his diss track instead of rapping. Out of the diss tracks involved in this situation, this is probably the best one to me. Unlike the previous one Joe had, he went harder at Ransom, and he also used a classic diss track beat, which of course just helps. Ransom then releases another diss track aimed at Joe. On the track, Ransom raps over the beat to the song G-Joint by Styles P from his second album, Time Is Money, released in 2006. On the track, Ransom calls Joe gay and bisexual and responds to some of the bars from Joe's diss tracks. After his verse, he talks over the beat for like the next 4 minutes, calling Joe gay repeatedly. Not much else to say about that track really, because he really does just call Joe gay and bisexual like 20 times or something. How is Joe both gay and bisexual though? It's one or the other. The beef seemed to quiet down for a little bit now, but shots were being thrown around on YouTube. On Joe's YouTube channel, he posted a video of him in the barbershop talking to Fabulous while Fab was getting a haircut. He asked Fab about his upcoming album and asked if there's going to be a track including the whole family, despite the fact that Joe doesn't mess with Ransom anymore.
I want to say March.
Your next album is coming out in March.
Yeah.
All right. Is it going to be a family, what's the name of the joint? The family joint with everybody on it, even though I don't fuck with Ren?
Okay.
Say no, man.
Nah, I really would like to space it out.
The beef escalated to physical violence shortly after this, as Joe posted a video on his YouTube channel where he was talking to a friend about being compared to Papoose and Ransom. Joe asked his friend if Ransom is the best rapper in JC, to which he replied yes, but clarified that Ransom is the best rapper and Joe is the best MC, citing a difference between the two. Then Joe went on to say that Ransom is a Toyota and he's a Lambo, clearly sending a shot at him.
Is Ransom the best rapper in Jersey City?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about the best rapper. You're the best MC.
Well, no, I'm not even from here anymore. I moved as soon as I got money.
Well, you was. you was the best MC. You're the best MC. There's a difference. He's a rapper. You're an MC.
Ransom is a Toyota, and I am like a fucking Marcia fucking Lago. He's like the cheeseburger with no pickles, ketchup, lettuce, tomatoes, and nothing. And I'm like the fucking, what's the biggest, bestest, the $7 Wendy's burger with the fucking bacon and everything.
This led to Ransom having an interview with DJ Vlad about the situation, in which he said several things about Joe, like calling him gay, nobody rocks with him in Jersey City, threatens to beat him up, and says that Fabulous had sex with Tahiri, among other things. In response to this, Joe gathered up a group of people and went to Ransom's block to look for him, and a confrontation occurred. The way the situation played out differs based on who you ask, apparently. On Joe's YouTube channel, he posted a video, this being the famous Applebee's video where he talked about what allegedly happened with Ransom. According to Joe, they found Ransom on his block outside, beat him up, then Ransom ran upstairs to his place and came back outside with his gun and started shooting in the air. He also claims to have recorded the altercation.
Ransom so happens to be outside. The nigga's outside, just standing. Nigga looked to his left, nigga seen fucking Joe Budden. Last nigga he thought he would see. Last nigga he thought he would see on his block right after Christmas. Soon as the gifts is up.
Ho, 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 motherfucker.
Niggas is on his ass.
Ho, ho, ho. And we
they
had red suits on.
And
We come with armor.
the nigga, just like I thought, wasn't the same in person when you see the nigga in person. So what happened, niggas duff him out. We didn't go there for that. Duff him out, real quick. He run upstairs, you come back down, start shooting in the sky.
Outside of the Joe Budden podcast videos, this video is one of the most viewed videos on Joe's channel. Then the very next day, a video was posted on Vlad TV's YouTube channel of Ransom and his crew walking around the neighborhood looking for Joe and the people from the previous altercation. They knock on the door of one of Joe's friends, apparently the brother of Buck, one of the people that was allegedly with Joe that day. One of the men with Ransom winds up smacking Joe's friend, and then the video cuts to Ransom talking about Joe and offering to fight him, and talking about smacking his friend because of what Joe did. More talking continues, like Ransom calling Joe a snitch for saying that he shot in the sky. They also tell Joe that if he really has footage of the situation, then to just put it out. This video is also the start of the beef between Joe Budden and DJ Vlad, as Joe has basically stated that Vlad has profited off of perpetuating the beef between the two and has gone on to make a habit of these kind of things. This video also essentially was the start of Vlad TV, as it became quite popular because of the whole beef, and it's among one of the oldest videos on the YouTube channel. Some people in the comment section of the video claim that Ransom didn't look too comfortable after Joe's friend was smacked, and Ransom confirmed this years later on an episode of Math Hoffa's My Expert Opinion, when Math had brought it to his attention about how he appeared in the video. In that same interview, Ransom stated that it was the birth of Vlad TV, and it was his first viral video, as well as stating that it was Vlad holding the camera. Allegedly, after these incidents occurred, multiple people were shot. I can't find any sources besides people commenting on the situation online, but it's highly possible that this was true, as it's already confirmed by both Ransom and Joe themselves that guns were involved in their altercations. Also, Ransom did some time in prison shortly after this situation, which is something he's talked about in various interviews, so something definitely did go down.
While you were incarcerated, did you at that time, I guess when you first were sentenced, were you blaming it on buttons?
Oh hell yeah, he was doing push-ups like one button, two buttons.
Yeah,
I was obsessed.
You wanted to kill him at that point.
I was obsessed. That's all I was. I was just like, yo, I got to get my hands on.
What made you change, if you did change?
Yeah, I changed. Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay.
Prison. That's what changed. Yeah.
In response to the situations that occurred, Joe put out another video on his YouTube channel titled My Ransom Response. In the video, he apologizes to his fans for the beef that occurred between him and Ransom. By the way, this video is where the clip that plays during Saigon's diss track, Pushing Buttons, comes from. He speaks on the video of the man getting smacked and basically states that it doesn't make them tough and that it isn't worth it to keep the beef going over things like pride. He goes on to downplay Ransom essentially by saying that it's more worth it to Ransom because his career isn't at the point Joe's is, and says a few more things about the situation, like not wanting things to escalate to the point where someone could wind up dying and Ransom's daughter being raised without a father. The videos on Joe's and Vlad's channels were all posted in December, pretty much over the course of a week or so a lot happened in a short time. Sometime after this, Ransom had an interview with Freak Genius TV on which he was asked about the beef with Joe and how he has to go to court and says that Joe snitched on him. Some months later, Tahiri had an interview on Vlad TV in which she was asked about the beef between Joe and Ransom. Tahiri basically stated that Ransom shouldn't have mentioned her during their beef. Vlad asked her if she was the one pushing Joe to respond to Ransom, and Tahiri said that yeah, she is the one that put the battery in Joe's back. So yeah, basically yet another rap beef that escalated over a woman. In 2012, Ransom had an interview with Jack Thriller from This Is 50, and Jack asked him about what happened with Joe Budden. Ransom responded saying that Joe was the one that took things to a physical level as they were just beefing on records before then. When Ransom got released from prison, he went back to releasing music, and on a mixtape he released in 2013 titled The Alternative, he has a track titled Open Letter, on which he raps using the beat from the Jay-Z track Open Letter. On the track, he seems to have a subliminal shot at Joe Budden with the lines, "You can smell the death in the air around the benches, but you'll never see Ransom run from his consequences. Getting rich off dollars is what I'm bout, nigga. The biggest slave in the yard killing the house, nigga." Consequence is the name of a rapper who is known for being a cousin of Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, as well as for working with Ye. He was on Love and Hip Hop New York and at one point punched Joe, who was also on the show, and there was some tension between the two. This would appear to be a reference to that situation, as that had happened early in 2013. That would appear to be it for the diss tracks between the two. Also in 2013, Ransom had an interview on Vlad TV in which he was asked about the beef with Joe and how everything happened. He broke down the incident where Joe and his crew came down, and he expressed that he was told that they were coming down there to his neighborhood but didn't plan on actually finding Ransom and were basically just doing it for appearances. He also stated that he didn't shoot in the air when he had his gun, and he was shooting at the people that he had the confrontation with, and that a week after the situation, the police came to his place, which led to his arrest and prison time. Then they spoke about the slapping incident, and Ransom stated that he regretted doing the whole thing. A few years later, in 2017, Ransom had an interview on This Is 50 and explained the beef with Joe again, as well as why he went to prison. Here he states that the shooting wasn't the only reason that he was locked up. The shooting prompted the police to show up, but he did time because they found drugs then. By this point, Joe had already retired from rapping and was focused on his podcast and other shows, while Ransom had been still putting out music, getting his buzz up. Then a few years later in 2021, Ransom made an appearance on Matt Hoffa's My Expert Opinion, like I mentioned prior, where he talked about how the beef with Joe went down and DJ Vlad's involvement. Then a few months later, Ransom also made an appearance on the Joe Budden podcast, so clearly at this point the beef between the two was done. Vlad made an appearance on My Expert Opinion after Ransom, and Math asked Vlad about the Ransom interview. Vlad shared his side of the story, stating that he wasn't the one that interviewed Ransom and that he had his employee do it. He also states that Ransom reached out to that same employee with a video for them to put on Vlad TV, that being the infamous slapping video. So he refutes what Ransom said in his interview about Vlad being the cameraman. Math asked him why he was implicated as the person who talked to the police after the shooting incident, and Vlad states that he talked to Ransom about who Ransom thinks it was, and also denies the police ever questioning him about the situation and saying he had no involvement regarding his arrest. So yeah, the beef between Vlad and Joe might still have some back and forth, but the beef between Ransom and Joe is pretty much squashed. As far as the diss tracks from this back and forth, personally it goes to Joe for me. You gotta give it to Ransom too though, because Joe has quit rapping since then while Ransom is continuing to put out music. That diss Joe did using the Takeover beat is probably my favorite out of the bunch. It's unfortunate that things had to be taken off wax and turned physical, especially since it resulted in Ransom doing some prison time. What are your thoughts on the beef? Who came out on top lyrically? Do you think Joe was right for escalating things further? Do you think Vlad was wrong for putting out these videos on the incident? Would you like to see a video focused on Joe and Vlad? Let me know in the comment section below. Click the thumbs up button to like the video, subscribe to the channel, come check out the Discord server, and consider becoming a patron or channel member to help support the channel further.